Every single day, people take unwanted or unused items to thrift and antique stores across the country. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and we're here to prove it. Identify valuable things before you throw them away. Join us as we show and tell of treasures found and sold by a full-time reseller with the hopes of helping you find some treasures of your own. Welcome to the What's Sold podcast.
Welcome back to the What's Sold podcast. As usual, per usual, I am Brandon. I am here with my good friend Matt, who's often confused on the streets when he walks in the streets of little
Brad
towns
Pitt.
throughout. Well, Brad Pitt.
Understandably. Hey,
And
listen,
Rusty the Resell.
I grew up an hour from Springfield, Missouri, which is where Brad
Yeah.
Pitt is from.
Yeah.
And I've seen his brother. I've actually spoken to his brother before. It was very short, and he would never remember that. But it's really just because of how I look. That's why people.
Hey, listen, you're a handsome guy. Don't undersell. You've got it going on.
Listen, man,
you're the
shaved my
face
beard.
guy of the show.
I shaved my beard off, and it's growing back now. And you know what? When it was longer, it was pretty easy to ignore and or hide the fact that I've got gray hair growing underneath the chin here. But as it's growing back, it's very obvious now. And
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything, but now that you mention it,
you can go ahead and don't.
it was a bit shocking to see you without the beard after only knowing you with the beard.
Mm-hmm.
You've had that beard for a long time. I remember my dad had a beard growing up. He always had a beard, and always. I don't remember him without a beard. And then one day I came home and he had shaved off his beard, and it was like, "What who are you?" It was weird. And then he kept a Van Dyke for the rest of his life.
Oh.
Yeah, full
Along
Van
with
Dyke.
the high karate that he gifted you.
Dude, yes, absolutely. My dad he rocked the high karate for sure. Absolutely, I guarantee.
The G.I. Joe with the kung fu grip in his back pocket,
Absolutely. All right, Matt. This is an interesting show because we're getting ready for the holidays. This will drop after. I guess this will drop on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we're sort of both prepping ourselves for it. And you've been like Mad Max in Beyond Thunderdome, racing around the country in your souped-up car, going to different things, going to your estate sales. But in all seriousness, it's sort of getting back to where you're out and about again. For a while, it was like, we're just trying to keep our head up and figure out. Well, we got water here in Asheville now, and Black Mountain. We can actually drink water from the taps. People are still freaked out about it. I myself never worried about it. I had friends that told me that they would use bleach. They would all their dishes, they would bleach the water. And I was like, wait, what?
Ugh.
Do you honestly think they're going to send water to your house that needs to be bleached? And it was just, I was like, oh, wow, that seems like a lot of work. Anyway,
By the way, listeners, you're not supposed to ingest bleach. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, bleach can be very, very bad. You should really be careful with it in general. I did bleach my shower recently and splashed up I was wearing a new shirt. My wife's like, you shouldn't do that. You're going to make them. I'm like, nah, I'm a pro. Literally splash. All of a sudden I've got the bleach spot. So bleach.
That's where you do your aftermarket stonewash jeans situation, right? It's in the back.
I could sell that shirt as an aftermarket. Hey man, it's the newest thing to have little bleach spots all over it.
Yeah,
because that's how you do it. So anyway, what is going on today, Matt? I know you went to some estate sales. You found some stuff, but what's the word in the world of reselling out there today?
The world is I'm getting back to sort of normal business operations with the caveat that I've had to make adjustments with where I'm going because a lot of the places I went to source are flooded or damaged or closed.
Right.
Many of which never to reopen, likely. So I have sourced in the last week. I've taken a couple of trips to South Carolina, just below the border, to a couple of towns down there. I went to two estate sales, somewhat local, which I had been to before, had been closed for a month and a half for obvious reasons, and are now reopening. And I got some really, I feel like I've had a good week of sourcing. I've also, I'm doing at this moment, on the floor, I probably have 18 things that I, fulfilled, quote unquote. I haven't packaged them to send them yet, but I've made the labels. And I had something like 35 2 days ago. I'm doing 50 or 60 orders that I'm having to fulfill per week right now, which
Wow.
is a lot of work for fulfillment,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why I'm hoping to move more towards buying some a little like fewer items. So selling fewer items, but spending more money on them. So nicer items, so that when I get the payout, it's a higher payout too.
Right.
So trading, paying $3 all the time for a piece of jewelry that I'm hoping to get $20 or $30 on, I want to spend $2,000 on some silver and some gold and some really unique antiques, and then so maybe 10% of the volume of things I used to buy, and I have to float a little bit more money. I'm only able to do that because I've been doing this full time for several years, and I'm finally at a place where I can float that cash for a little bit longer. But and later in this episode, I will give you a prime example of what I'm doing that fits with that. But it's been good. I'll show you. I pulled.
Wait, before you go into
Yeah.
that, we talk about this is a show for resellers, people that do it full time, people that do it part time, people that do it, I don't know, semi whatever. And we've talked a lot. I mean, we're at show 59 at this point.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about this, but you cannot look at any business, and especially in reselling, as a static thing. It's just not going to be static because you don't know what you're going to find when you're out there. So what you're talking about is sort of like anyone that's been doing something for a while, as you specialize. What you're talking about is specializing. And some of our listeners out there, you may never specialize because there's no point to it. You're not doing enough sales in a week to make it. If you've got to ship 300 things in a week, that's a lot. As opposed to 20 things, that's not a lot. So just keep that in mind. Matt, how many items would you say you have in all your stores right now on eBay
that are currently listed? Somewhere around 8,000. That's
Sweet Mary,
8,000
Mother of
listings, not 8,000 items. So some of those listings, like I have one listing for 100 pounds of costume jewelry. So there's several thousand pieces of jewelry in that. So how many items do I have in what we lovingly refer to as the warehouse? Multiple thousands, 20, 30,000 things. And probably more than that even. So, but I have a lot that haven't been listed yet. As things sell, things are coming in. It gets difficult at a certain point to quantify. But suffice it to say, it's not that as bad as it sounds. If I have a fairly simple, strategy for how I label and sort things and how I store them. So it doesn't take me 30 seconds to find an item when it sells, but you have to, have a plan and you have to put it in the right spot and have space and all.
How long did it take you from the very beginning of, say, starting this? And I know you didn't just like one day wake up, the world collapsed, 2020 hit, COVID, you lost your job. How long did it take you to get to the point where you would have said, I am officially a full-time reseller?
Well, I guess the question then would be what qualifies you as a full-time reseller, because I had been selling quote unquote part-time since 2000, and I didn't start full-time, what I would call full-time reselling, meaning I was not working another job and I was focusing all of my work time on reselling. That was in March of 2020. So from March of 2020 till now, I would say I've been a full-time reseller, but I didn't have enough inventory in the first even few months to really make me enough money to pay for things like my previous job had. It took me several months. But I would say that by 2021, I was operating off of enough sales that I could pay bills. And then the last, I would say 2 to 2.5, it took me about 1.5 to 2 years before I started feeling more comfortable and I wasn't sweating certain bills every month, being like, oh, it's a bad month. What am I gonna do? But since then, it's been a lot better. And now I'm very fortunate to say that the trend currently is that I'm still making more. This is the fourth almost full year of reselling. And not only am I able to pay bills now, but I'm able to put money aside for larger deals. I'm able to pay off debts and things that are above and beyond monthly costs. And so that affords me the ability to engage in certain activities and strategies that I've known that I wanted to do for a long time. I just didn't have the capital to do it because I still have never sought out a business loan. I've never sought out a line of credit for the business. I have had some individuals, friends or family, who wanted to put in money to be a part of a buy so that they also made some money on it. But I may do that at some point. They say it takes money to make money. I certainly think that's true, because when you get to certain echelons of price, a lot of the buyers out there are no longer able to be a buyer. So it's a smaller group of people that are buying, selling that item, but those people are avid collectors and they really want that. So when you get them something that they really want, they're willing to pay up for it.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of.
Well, it's like if you're selling a Stradivarius violin, there's not that many people that are going to be buying a Strat. It's not like you throw an ad on eBay. So at some point, I mean, and I guess, and we'll talk more about this as that comes up, but the idea of consignment becomes less and less about eBay sales and more about connections and contacts and all that stuff. But anyway, so what did you sell this week? What happened out there? I can't believe you crossed the border into South Carolina. That's dangerous waters down there, buddy.
Well, I had a cool connection of a gentleman who runs an antique store, and I was a repeat customer, and over time I've spoken with the guy. We exchanged numbers. Turns out he's going to be selling his business and retiring overseas next year. And so, without all the details, I was invited to look through several tubs of jewelry and various antiques and could pick out what I wanted. And so on that trip, I spent about $2,800 on a bunch of jewelry and various things. And then 2 days ago, it was yesterday, I drove to Georgia. It was a 2.5-hour drive, and I purchased a large collection of Jade items. Carved pendants, figurines, seals, stamps, and things like that. And that was $2,700. So I probably spent $6,000 on inventory in the last 2 weeks, which is, it's a good amount of money. But these were all calculated decisions, and I've sold items like the ones I've purchased before. So I have real personal experience with selling them, what the values are, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking about what you were talking about. I was like, oh, I want to go on one of those trips with you. I want to go on one of your sourcing trips and bring my my recording. I'm sure it'd be fascinating to interview some of these folks that are out there selling stuff. Anyway, but I digress. So
we
went, and point. How much of that stuff did you get from him?
Well, from the gentleman, it's difficult to say. I bought somewhere around 3,000 grams worth of pieces of sterling silver jewelry. I bought some gold pieces of jewelry, and various other small things like antique watches and like fountain pens and stuff that.
And this was all part of a brick and mortar operation?
Correct.
I imagine he was like, in my mind's eye, if you're listening to this right now, you're probably, I think we always do this. We think about, what did the person look like? We always build this image. I imagine him in like a white, suit, and with a big white hat, and be like, well, hello there, with a cane. I imagine that is the reseller in the Deep South would be, we were in a nice seersucker suit or something. It'd be great.
Yeah, he actually spoke a bit more like this when we spoke to one another, because he's a Brit.
Oh,
and he's probably
ruined it.
He's probably in his upper 50s, lower 60s, I would guess. I don't know. Very, very nice gentleman, and it was very, very kind of him to give me that opportunity. So it was a cool thing, and maybe I'll get another chance, before he sells and heads on into a well-deserved retirement.
Yeah,
but it was a cool experience. You want to see a couple things? two
I
to
would
three
love
things
to
that I
see.
sold.
I'm sitting there waiting with on bated breath. I feel like you've been teasing us for a while. What did you sell this week, Matt?
Well, this little item here is pretty unique. I've actually never
Oh,
bought or sold one. This
is
is
that my sister?
it is a picture of Brandon's sister. So
It does kind of look like my sister.
I've never met her or seen her, so I'll have to take your word for that. But this is a really unique piece. It is porcelain attached to a thin copper plate. And on the porcelain, it is a hand-painted portrait of a woman with like scarlet black hair,
But
long
that's
hair.
that's hand painted.
That is a oil paint, a small oil
stunning.
painting. For the listeners, this measures roughly 3 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall, and it's
She looks very Irish. That's why my sister looks
She
very
may be.
Irish.
She very well may be. I definitely think that this is a European piece.
Yeah.
It's I would date it to the mid to late 1800s. On the back, it's cool. It has various very old sticker type pieces of paper that have writing from various maybe auctions or estate sale lot numbers and various stuff. Who knows how many hands this has passed through to get to me. And it finally sold for $90, even
Wow.
though it's seen better days. The top portion of it has all of the porcelain is starting to crack off of that, and it at one time I'm sure it was framed, but it's loose now. I bought this at an antique store in Wilmington, North Carolina, on a trip visiting some friends.
Well, who
I
would
paid-
buy? I mean, would a collector buy? But by the way, her hair looks very modern, like 1980s hair. That's fascinating.
Well, I would say that a lot of hairdos today are not brand new ideas, right? This stuff gets recycled over time.
Yeah,
So
it's
she's
just-
got
I mean,
kind of
it's
the
interesting.
bangs and then the long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is going on probably 120 to 150 years old. And
Wow.
we have not reinvented the wheel when it comes to, it's basically bangs and long hair in the back,
Wouldn't it be interesting to find out who that actually was? Like, I would look
It
at those
would be
pictures. I'm like,
fascinating.
who are you?
There's no
Who are you, person,
signature
in that?
for the artist, and there's no information on the back about who it is. It would be practically impossible to find unless it happened to be a somewhat famous person, which in that case, if I did a Google Lens thing, it's possible I could pop up and see who it is or who I think it might be.
Mm.
But, and in some cases, if you ever come across something from a famous person, like it is going to be more valuable, especially if you can get some sort of third-party verification that it is that person. So I made, $40, something like that, profit off of it. Not a huge sale, but I think it was a cool piece, and I learned about it as I was researching. Another lot that
How long? I'm sorry. How
Yeah.
long had you had that in your actual?
I've had that for a while because I had it
Okay.
quite a bit higher, and I just thought it was such a lovely, unique piece. I didn't want to lower the price fast. I was fine letting it sit for a while. So I suspect I bought that in July of last year. No, I'm
Well,
sorry.
not
Of
that
this
we
year.
wanna make
June or July of this year. So it's 5-6 months, something like that.
So
probably.
we're going to do a show on that, sort of how you. But when you're looking at that, when you're looking at a piece like that, and you've got it, and you think it's worth a certain, like, how do you just go by gut instinct, or is it just experience? How do you know when to lower, what to set the price at? Are you I know you can look at other things on eBay, but is it you say I started high and I lowered it down? At what point do you start making that calculation?
I think for me, it depends first on my need for cash. So do I need that money back quickly because I need to pay a bill? Do I have another opportunity that I think is going to come up and I like that opportunity more? So I want to move this,
Yeah.
get the money in to use it for the next thing. And then the secondary piece is just my patience level, right? Am I going to be patient and let just ride out at that price for 3 years? And because I think that it's down to what its value is. And if I lower it, I'm going to be putting it below value. I'm not willing to do that. But see, the way I operate is I'm not attached to any of this stuff. This stuff is not, it's there. I'm hoping to make a certain margin. If it looks like I can't make that margin, I lower it and I'll make a smaller margin. I've even sold things eventually for roughly what I paid for them. And I guess you could call that a bit of a failure. It may not have been a failure. Maybe at the time I bought it, the market was hot and it cooled in between or something like that. Maybe there were more available. It wasn't as rare as I believed it to be when I purchased it.
Well, that's a good point you make, though, about not being attached to stuff. I mean, if you were, say, a lumber broker and you were selling lumber to somebody, you would be
Right.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna hang on to this solid red oak. I'm gonna hang on to that. It's just so beautiful." No, you sell it when you could sell it or whatever. And so, if you look at this as just this baseline business as it's a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Exactly.
going to put it up there and I need to move it because I want to bring in other goods. Now, you could get to the point where we've talked about selling guitars on the show. Maybe you have a guitar and that's what you want to do. And you're going to take 3 years because you know what that guitar is worth and you're going to wait on it. But I guess that's all part of running the numbers in your head.
Exactly.
And how much can you float?
That's exactly right. And with instruments specifically, that's a little different because I can play that and use it and get some, enjoyment out of it while I have it. So I'm actually getting something in the meantime. But items, I have multiples of thousands of things here, but I actually have a pretty decent memory as to how long I've had it. I remember if it's something I bought this year. I remember if it came last year, the year before that. So sometimes I sell, like, I'm not thinking all day about all of my items. That's ridiculous.
Right.
So I'm periodically delisting things, selling the similar item, getting it back up. I'll see it. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that thing. Sometimes people send me offers and then I look at it and I think, okay, the first thing I think of is how long have I had it? And the second thing I think of is how much did I pay for it? So I look at what I have it listed for. I look at what they have offered. And if I think I've only had this up a month and they're already offering me quite a bit less, I'm not inclined to drop it that low. I'm either going to decline it or I'm going to counter with something closer to my number. If I look at that thing and say, man, I have not seen interest in that item in a while and I've had that thing for 2 years, I'm very likely to part with it at that point because in 2 years' time, it clearly did not have the desirability that I was hoping for. And I would rather take that money now, even if it's close to the purchase price, and move that into something today because you know what? I'm a lot better at determining value and speed of sales on things today than I was 2 years ago. And I have a better idea of what the market is today than I did the market 2 years ago. So that's kind of one of those things that I look at. There are people, by the way,
right.
That I'm trying to remember if there's a way you can see this. But if there's a way, I think that this is why people do it. And maybe this is one of those things that eBay used to allow you to do, but have changed. But I think you used to be able to see like how long it had been on, right? How long it had been available. So there are people, I think, who go to high value things. And if they're like, this thing's been up for 3 years, they'll go in and offer really low, hoping that they're going to have that same reaction I just described to you as, it's been there for 3 years. I haven't had interest in this I must have had it way too high. I'm going to go ahead and sell. And so you might get it under the current market value. You never know.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's like a numbers game. There are people, by the way, who send me offers that are ridiculously low all the time. I mean, let's say I have a $500 item and they'll offer me $50. They'll offer me 10%. They probably have in their head, and it's a numbers game for them. They just go into certain categories and stuff, and they just go through, and they just offer, never more than 10%. And they know that 99 out of 100 of those are going to be turned out cold, but one of them's somebody's going to bite. And when they do that, they're going to get that thing for well under value, and they're going to flip it.
Yeah.
Right?
Boy, that seems like a tiring work, though.
It's like in college when I used to walk up to every attractive girl that I saw and drop some cheesy line.
Hey, my name's Matt.
Now, I said that
if I was going to remake the alphabet, I'd put you and I together.
I said that 99 times out of 100 it doesn't work, and one time it does. That's true, except for when I was in college doing that. It worked out 0% of the times.
Well, there is something to be said about people that want to hustle and grind like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not necessarily what we're about. It's not necessarily the type of selling that we're talking about. Is I find items that have value, I pay less than they're worth, and I sell them. And you could do that if you wanted to scour eBay all day. But I think the way you're doing it, going out and meeting people, to me, it seems more rewarding. No judgment on that person. But
of course, I would argue that a strategy is not efficient at all. Which is why one of the many reasons I don't use that strategy, but it is out there. And like you said, more power to them, I guess. So, okay, let me move to a couple more things real quickly. I have a small lot here. It's in a little box, and it's just full of antique pocket watches.
Jeez.
One, two,
You're
three,
the
four,
king
five,
of the
six,
pocket
seven,
watch.
8, 9, 10, 11. About 15 pocket watches. Most of these are really low grade, 7 jewel timepieces that don't work. They need repair. There are a couple of decent ones in here. There's a Waltham. There's a couple of Elgins. And ones, a couple of them work, but several of them need repair. People buy these, they repair them, that kind of thing. I got this at an estate sale. I bought a bunch of wristwatches, pocket watches, and a bunch of replacement crystals and hands and crowns and all these different components that you would use to repair or replace on these watches. And I think I paid about $100 for everything. And at the same time I sold this, I sold a box similar to this, but it was all pocket watches. I sold a bunch of those crystals. I sold different things. I've already made my money back and I'm into profit now. But this particular box sold for $90. So 90% of what I paid came back to me in this one sale, right? And I've sold several other things and I have several left, so I'll be making some money. And in that case, if somebody gets real excited and wants to offer me 10% of the things I have left, I'm not going to bite on that for a long time because I already know I made my money back. There's no reason why I need to take less for it. I'm fine waiting 2 months for the buyer who will pay me what I want because then I stand to make the most profit for it. So that was the last thing I'll show today. These are not necessarily super exciting things, but this is like a miniature electric guitar with a maple neck. It's a legitimate guitar. It's got a single coil pickup in it and just a volume control. And it's, made for students, for younger kids that are learning to play an instrument. I couldn't believe it, but I only paid $5 for this at a local thrift store, and it even came with its own strap. With some sort of...
How much would that have been brand new?
So they're about $120 brand new, and I paid $5 for it, and it works perfectly fine. I mean, the tuning, it probably could use some adjustments.
I'll give you $7 for it right now, Matt.
All right. You can't because I sold it. I sold it.
No,
I sold it for $50, and I just wanted to move
great.
it because it's well below. It's like half a little under half of what a brand new one is, but it's in pristine condition. It almost looks like it's never even been used. So that'll be going out. That's a little bit of an annoying one because of just the it's so long. So finding a box that's ideal for that can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I like to keep the things I sell small because of just easy finding packaging, cheap.
Unless you're selling a lot less items, which is the idea of like
if I'm
selling less.
Right. And if I'm selling one of my Martin or Gibson vintage guitars that I like to do a few times a year, and I'm going to sell that thing for $5,000, you know what? I'll drive around all day to find a box if I know I'm going to be making $2,000 profit or something.
Or you get a box made for you for $25, then it's
for sure
a sunk cost. So yeah, that's it. The more you talk about it, the more I'm like, we got to get Matt into selling bigger, more valuable items. And for those of you that are out there,
all right, next episode, Rolex watches and yachts. I need to move down to Florida.
That's selling. Yeah. Hey, you know what's funny? I know a yacht insurance salesman. They sell insurance. I guess they have to sell insurance, right? But I know a yacht insurance. Well, I don't know. I know the son of a yacht insurance salesman. I think they do pretty well. So if anybody out there is a yacht insurance salesman, give us a call.
Or their sons. We'll just have somebody's son on. Tell me about your dad's
that are selling
used
business. Yachts.
Right.
Yeah, if you want to sell a used yacht, let us know. Anyway, so that's super cool. What else? Do you have anything else? Because I know we've got a big thing.
I've got a lot of other things, but we're already nearly at 30 minutes, and I want to have a few minutes to talk about this Jade collection that I got.
Yeah.
And there will be photos. I've already sent you some, right?
Yeah,
did you see them? Yeah.
They'll be up on Facebook. Don't worry.
So as I reach in to grab a handful of pieces to discuss, why don't you take a moment and regale our listeners with your just some knowledge, some Jade knowledge that you have.
What are you're assuming I have Jade knowledge?
Come on, you're a history guy. You're
Yeah, no, well, obviously Jade has been very, very valued in China for thousands of years. Jade items. I don't know if Jade is a volcanic rock. I think it is. So an igneous rock, which means it's made by a volcano or something hot under the surface of the earth, and it's typically green, although not always green. And I think it's a pretty hard material, but there was a craft that grew up around jade of carving jade. So you will oftentimes see, I actually have a little tiny jade elephant that my brother brought me back from Thailand. I gave it to my daughter.
Nice.
It's beautiful, very fragile, like glass, because
Yeah.
it's just so small and delicate. But that's the extent of my jade. I do know that some jade can be incredibly valuable.
Yes. So I also am not an authority on jade. I like most things, I know enough to be dangerous.
Sure.
So in this case, the story goes, and I'll try to keep this brief. One of the strategies I'm trying to employ, and I'm dipping my toe in, is following auction houses. And I'm registered. It's usually free just to register so that you can bid on items. But also, a lot of these will actually show you past auctions, and you can see what the item sold for. So I've started doing some research targeting lots and individual items that sold for a lot of money and also beat their predicted sale prices. So, for example, if I see a painting, it sold for $50,000, and they believed that it was going to sell for between $8,000. And one auction house I follow, they usually start the bidding at half what their lowest range estimate is. So if they think 8 is the lowest, then they start the auction at $4,000. So in this scenario I'm giving you, it would have started at $4,000. It would have sold up at $50,000. So what I do is I take that artist's name and I start searching the internet, eBay, Etsy, estate sales locally, Facebook Marketplace, and I start looking for that artist and see, okay, this painting was of a landscape scene of the spring with like these beautiful floral trees and things. If I come across one for $2,000 or $3,000 and it's basically the same type of scene, what I do is I'm going to take that photograph and I'm going to send it to the auction house as if it belongs to me. And I'm going to say, are you interested in this? It's by this artist. And if they come back and say, yes, I want that, or yes, we will sell it, and we think the range of sale range will be roughly this. And if that sale range is high enough, even at the low end, that I know I'm almost guaranteed, as long as it sells, I'm essentially guaranteed to make money, then I'll go back to the original seller and I'll probably even offer them less than what they're trying to sell it for, just to see. I'll just negotiate, not way less, but just say, hey, do you have any wiggle room in this? If not, I understand. It's just always good to ask and see. And if so, I'm buying that thing. And then my job is done because all I have to do is take it to the auction house. They research it, photograph it, market it, list it, sell it, insure it, and ship it, all for me. They take their percentage, but then I get the money. So that is an idea that I've had, and I'm looking into it. But that takes us to what I'm about to talk about. I was noticing that carved jade artifacts at one particular local auction house were selling for crazy amounts of money. And it didn't surprise me that jade can sell for lots of money because it is a stone that can be found in multiple places in the world. You can find jade in China, and you can find jade in New Zealand, and you can even find a form of nephrite that is a jade type stone off the coast of California. They come in various colors. They come in greens and whites and grays and oranges and yellows and browns and black and pink and lavender. So lavender color, like a light purple, some of these greens and whites particularly can sell for very large amounts of money. It has to do with the age. It has to do with the style and type of carving. If it involves animals or something, that if it's can be verified that it's really old from a dynasty, hundreds of years ago. If it's like an old artifact, and if it has a certain characteristics, if it's got really good hue and saturation of color, if it's semi-translucent to more translucent, and size, all of these things can add to the rarity. But if you were to go look up jade and find examples online that have sold for lots of money, you'll start to find similar characteristics. The quality, it's very, very translucent. It's very glossy. It has really rich color. And sometimes they're carved, and sometimes they can be faceted gemstones. They can be cabochons, and they can be carved figures. So as I was looking and finding all of these, I thought, man, there's clearly a huge market in jade items. Now, I wasn't so naive as to think that just any jade I could find is going to make me tons of money, because you can also find examples of large carved pieces on eBay that look magnificent, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, that sold for $9.50. What's that about, right? But I went and did some searching. I found a lady in Georgia who was selling a large collection of jade. I paid $2,700 for a lot of between 200 and 210, I've not counted the exact amount, pieces. They are of like figurines of people, figures of animals, stamps, seals, pendants, and items like that. And I'm going to hold up a few examples, and I got a few different colors and different types to show and discuss the varieties here. The first couple I'll hold up are what would be considered more white. This one, and I'm going to hold up, it's going to be difficult to see. The one is more white, grayish. The other one is gray towards lavender. They've got holes carved through the center of them. And, they're about 2 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. And one is about the thickness of 2 quarters on top of one another. The other one's a little bit thicker than that, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. And there's some green hints in it and stuff too, but these would have been made as pendants or something to hang off of a string, could have been tied onto a belt, could have been a counterweight for something that you were holding in a pouch on your belt or something like that.
Uh-huh.
The next couple of ones are similar. One is a pendant, and it's a very kind of medium to dark green color. Another one is a very bright green. Circular holes again. One is made to be a pendant. The other one is just some kind of a medallion. And the medallion is carved like koi fish, which is a popular and known kind of Asian, animal or fish that is, respected and is a part of a lot of people's lives. Now, the other one has a bird of some kind. The next thing I'm going to hold up is, I'm guessing this is made to be almost like a ring that would hold a napkin or some kind of maybe a scroll or something like that. But it is more of an orange and green and yellow color. It's thick, and it features a carved dragons. So I'm going to turn this way. You can see the head
incredibly intricately
and
carved.
the front legs. Oh yeah, a lot of these are very, very well carved. By the way, people who inspect this stuff can get out their microscopes, and they can tell if like a Dremel type tool or like an industrial cutting, something that like a jeweler would use, was used to carve these, or if these were hand carved, and that can help with dating. The next piece is sort of a yellowish, semi-translucent piece, and it's a little cup that's been carved, and it's got a little base here, and the side around it is carved in this, somewhat of a geometric design. Cool little thing. It's really small. I don't know what you would use it for, but you could put something like maybe a spice or pepper or something like that in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one I'm going to hold up is one of the larger pieces. It's probably 5 inches wide by 6 inches tall. And this is more of a yellowish, whitish, opaque piece, but it's carved less like an Asian design and more like something you would think you would see in like a Mayan culture. So it's almost like a head figure, not exactly like a person.
I think it's a beetle, isn't it?
Well, it might be like a beetle. Yeah, possibly so. Yeah, you're right. Facing upwards. Yeah, it may be the type of a beetle. I missed that even looking at that, but it's a large piece. It's really cool. It's quite heavy. Probably weighs 150 grams. The next three are some of the coolest ones. I really like the seals. Seals are like large stamps that you would stamp down.
Right.
This one is somewhat translucent, and it's some kind of like a creature, almost like a bull. It has horns, and then it has, I guess it has almost like a ram. It has like ram horns and
mythical
ears,
creature,
some kind of a mythical creature. And then on the bottom, you have a carved image of some kind of script, some kind of characters, like words. I don't know what they are because I can't read Chinese or Japanese characters, so I'm not sure.
But if you got the stamp done and you did a translator, you could
Yeah,
find
and
out
I
what
may
it
be able to
said.
find that. Yeah, the next one is black, and this is also jade. I've tested it. It's got
Wow.
geometric shapes in it. It has some almost like a wolf or some kind of a predatory creature on the top, carved on the bottom. Again, it has some characters for stamping. And then the last one is the largest seal I have. Again, this is some kind of dog, cat, maybe a mythical creature of some kind, geometric shapes carved on the side, and on the bottom, the large carved script. I have, like I said, over 200 pieces, varied colors, varied designs, different animals, people, things like that. I paid $2,700, and that's not a boast or anything. That's just what it was. And I say that because everyone's going to get to either laugh at me or say, hey, good job on your first experiment. Because I'm going to send these to an auction house to sell, and we're going to find out if I'm going to get hosed or if this was good.
We will report back.
But with 200 pieces, and I paid, it was 200 to 220 pieces, I paid $2,700. So that comes down to, I can't remember the count, it was like $13.50, $14 a piece, something like that. I was confident that if an auction house decided they didn't want it, I could split these up in small lots or even sell them individually and get probably $15 to $20 for the smaller ones and on up for larger and more intricate or more interesting pieces. So since I can sell this stuff on my own as well, I wasn't really that concerned that I'm not going to get my money back. It's just like buying the silver and the gold and all these other pieces. I get more pieces for less money per piece, which means I'm spreading out the risk among multiple pieces. It's not like the sale and whether I win on this or not is hinged upon the sale of one item. I'm spreading it out over lots of things. That gives me lots of flexibility in the time it takes me, how I can sell them, how long I can wait before I sell them, that kind of thing. So thoughts from you upon seeing that. Maybe you could give a little prediction.
I don't know a lot
going to
about
work
Jade.
out?
I think it is, and I'll tell you, I'm speculating on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm close to right. Somebody could send us an email at whatsoldpodcast@gmail.com to let us know if I'm wrong, but China invented paper. The reason we got paper in the printing press is because the Chinese and then the Koreans took the Chinese wood block printing and turned it into silver printing, and then the printing press came to Europe in the middle of the 1400s, so the 15th century. But paper was very prominent in China for a long time, and China had a massive bureaucracy. And so when these different documents would go out, taxed at whatever it was, they would get the print of whoever that bureaucrat or person was. And each one, it's in a sense, it's like their signature. That is like a signature print. I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And I'll do a little bit of research on that.
Okay.
But and the reason I even bring that up is that if indeed those jade prints are those, they could be 400, 500, 600 years old, depending on
some of them could.
The deal.
Yeah, I believe that these are ranging from contemporary to old. How old? That's right. Where my knowledge has its limits, but I'm going to continue to be doing research between now and then.
Yeah, I would actually, now I'm, again, as the ex-history teacher here, I would probably take a paper print of one of those and see if I could do a Google search of that image and get it translated, because most likely it's probably the name of someone. And if you got the name, anyway, my point being is that's what the auction house can do. They're going to research that. And if that's like a Ming Dynasty thing, it could be worth a lot of money.
It could. And, I think that this is probably going to be similar to what it's like when I'm researching the characters on the bottom of Asian pieces of ceramics, is that usually there's 3 to 4 or 5 characters. Chinese ones tend to be in like a circle or a square, whereas Japanese are more vertical and are in a line. But oftentimes one of them tends to be the year that it was made or the decade. Usually there's one character that indicates whatever the dynasty, whoever the reigning power was at that time. This is like in the era of whatever, or this period of time. And then another one could be the person, like the artist themselves. So you're absolutely right. I'm going to go through at least 3 of these seals. I'm going to take images of the characters both ways, since I actually don't know which direction it's supposed to it's supposed to be held. Yeah. And then I'm going to look that up. And so listen, if I find something out between now and the next episode or 2 we do, I will definitely let you guys know. And if the auction house accepts these, I will keep you updated. I'll let you know when I'm going to send them. If they give me a range of expected sale, I'll tell you what I'll keep you updated along the way, and we can all be kind of fingers crossed to see how this is going to
Let's put it this way: if this is like from a Ming Dynasty thing and it's worth millions of dollars, you're going to know that because this show will end. Matt will be sitting on a beach somewhere, sipping a pina colada. He will be like, you remember that scene in Trading Places? How you doing, Winston or whatever his name was? Feeling good. Yeah, that'll be you.
Actually, what'll happen is we'll keep this going. It's just that we'll replace us with better people, and I'm going to get Brad Pitt for me.
Yeah,
since everyone says I look like him.
Brad, wouldn't it be awesome if Brad Pitt did the What Sold podcast?
The What Sold podcast with the one and only
Brad Pitt. Anyway, wow, that would be amazing. So if you're friends with Brad Pitt and you know that he wants to do a podcast, we've got the vehicle for him. So we will happily.
We'll give him an interview. We'll see if we think he's right for the show.
Well, listen, as I said, this is going to drop on Thanksgiving. We wanted to wish all of you a wonderful, relaxing. Don't eat too much, but have a good time. Enjoy the holiday. Hopefully you get to spend it with family, but if not, people that you love and care about.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe we should do our favorite really quick as we go out. What's your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving, Matt? What's your one item that you can't do without?
But that I can't do without?
Just the one item that you really look forward to.
Turkey is good. I like turkey, but if I can get a hold of one of those like smoked turkeys, like smoked turkey meat.
Yeah. Spatchcocked turkeys. Yeah. I actually would say pumpkin pie is I have to go with pumpkin pie.
I'm not a big sweets guy,
Well,
but
I'm not either, but Thanksgiving, Matt, it's the time of celebration. We're celebrating so much. Anyway,
I hope everyone does love on your family and your loved ones and take a break.
Yeah, enjoy a couple days off. We'll be back with a brand new show next week. Remember to follow, like, and subscribe if you get a chance. Always write us a review. That's super good. We'll be back with some fun new stuff coming up. We hope everybody has a great holiday. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.